Greetings from beyond the screen, and we're back. This time to discuss Piers Morgan's infamous appearance on the Tucker Carlson podcast. I won't be talking about Piers openly admitting that he'd more than happily sacrifice his nation and people for a bit of curry, even if it means that our curry requires children to be placed on the altar of diversity and then ravaged and defiled by brown and black immigrants for years and years on end, up until the number of victims reaches the millions. No, that's not too much of a sacrifice. That's just enough in his opinion. Now, what I do want to talk about is the fact that there is a point in the podcast where Piers and Carlson proceed to discuss homosexuality, and it is frustrating, to say the least, to see these two fossils. And I can say that I'm younger than them. I'm 25. Wait, haven't I reached 28 already? By gay standards, I'm as old as them. I'm a fossil too. We're a bunch of fossil fags. But to actually get back on point, the issue that I have with their discussion, and it's from what I can see on the Tucker Carlson network, where they made the post about it, it's an 8-minute and 49-second video. We're only going to be talking about select portions of it, because I don't have the time to listen to two old men speak. I much prefer two old men in me, but they're not good looking enough for that, so there'll be no penetration now, unfortunately. Now, at the beginning of the video, Tucker and Pearson talk about homosexuality, and one of the things that I found entirely bizarre is the fact that Carlson brings up the fact that, that you can encourage homosexuality, and an encouragement of it will then lead to a population decline.
What's wrong with homosexuality?
Well, if you encourage it and the rate goes up, people have fewer kids. I don't know, did you do biology?
My issue with this is that, yes, there is evidence that you will have a higher rate of people identifying as other than heterosexual due to the propaganda. However, this is a result of the social incentive behind, which is, if you want to be in with the kids, you might as well say you're queer. Now that leads to a high number of people pretending to identify as gay, bi, pan. What else was there? There's so many bullshit sexualities at this point. We could be here the whole day. Now, the key word that you need to pay attention to that I used was pretend. There's been numerous studies into this, and surveys as well, where they looked at the rate of, for all intents and purposes, we can just say homosexuality and use it as an umbrella term for now. Where they looked into the rates of homosexuality, the number of people that identified as homosexual, and the numbers were staggering. Now you have to ask yourself, why was that? As I previously mentioned, it's the social incentive behind it to identify as homosexual. It carries more social currency than being a plain old straight. Now, what Tucker, I actually should just be saying Carlson, I want to be all formal as I usually am, he doesn't ever address that there have been instances, documented instances, of people pretending to be homosexual to curry social favor. It's what's been happening with transgenderism. There was a man in some foreign country that decided to identify as a woman so he could retire early. This is the reason why transgenderism is so high. It's due to the fact that there is a social benefit to identifying as a woman. It's because you get to get all the benefits of a woman while being a man. The same applied to the heydays of homosexuality in the modern world. Now, more often than not, the people that were pretending to identify as homosexual were women, because women, unlike men, are more possessed with an obsession to climb the social hierarchy, to always be in high standing with the current social status. If they are to be removed from that, they tend to have very volatile reactions, which for me is quite enjoyable to see a woman crash and burn. It does warm my soul. Carlson then does continue and say that propaganda and pornography is responsible for this. Now, I do find it odd that pornography, especially straight pornography, would encourage men to become gay. How would a man watching a woman being fucked or seeing two women going at it then be encouraged to become homosexual? I think the opposite would be more likely to happen, though in my case it didn't. I came across my dad's porn collection and I said to myself, I want to get what the woman's having. And we find ourselves here. And then further on into the video, there's a point where Carlson, and even I had to cringe a bit at that, physically, not saying the word, due to the fact that when they going back and forth, do people pretend to be gay? Do you believe people are gay? The science on this is conclusive, blah, 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 blah. Carlson says to Piers, you can try to see if I'm gay. Now, I don't know if he was joking or making a genuine attempt at flirting. More often than not, conservatives tend to be the biggest degenerates, and I should know. I'm a conservative myself. The particular problem with that is it completely debunks the kind of argument that Carlson is making if he meant that seriously. And given how he talks throughout the entire video, it definitely seems that this was a moment of him being serious. The issue is this. Yes, it is conclusive that there is no gay gene. The problem with this is sexual orientation, sexual preferences are not genetic. You cannot determine from someone's genes what their sexual attraction will be. Unfortunately, it is something you cannot control. And it is mentioned by Tucker at some point that he mentions there's a gay man that he knows that says they were molested and now they're gay. There is definitely a correlation between rates of sexual abuse at young ages and men identifying as homosexuals as a result of this. The inverse doesn't seem to happen for women for one reason or another, and I as a gay man am more than happy to admit that. I wasn't a victim of sexual abuse myself. However, I personally do know gay twins, two white men, who had the unfortunate experience of being raped at young ages by a group of black men that now identify as homosexual men. There's definitely a correlation there. Not saying there isn't one. However, the issue with Tucker is that he makes it seem as this is the only way for anyone to identify as homosexual. It does happen, however, it's not the case for most. I'm an exception myself. Low Ping, the degenerate poster that he is, did not go through any such experience himself, and I do know many others. Another claim that Carlson made that I took particular issue with more than all of the other claims that he made was simply the fact that he said there's no masculine dignity in men being gay.
Mocking masculinity is the fastest way to servitude. There's no masculine self-respect at all.
Ultimately, this comes down to the fact of either one or two things. One, that homosexual sex between two men is very penetrative. One man will need to submit to the other, and there is a particular view that in that submission you are no longer a man, you've effectively made yourself a woman, a bitch, if you would. The other instance, and I feel this is where it actually is coming from, is that many people, especially the older generation, believe that a man is only a man through his ability to, one, gain the approval of women and provide for them. If he cannot do either one of those things, then he is no longer a man. He's never to be considered a man. And I believe with Tucker being as old as he is, falls within that camp where there is a belief that because this man cannot get any sort of validation from women and he is not working and building himself towards having a wife and children, he is not a man. Because for them, your manhood is directly tied to how women perceive you and what you can do for them, rather than your own ability to be an independent, capable individual. That is what I would say is a man, is an individual who is able to provide for themselves and others and is capable in all that they pursue. That is a man. A man is not simply what he can give you, a man is also what he can do for you and himself. And this is one of the bigger problems that this kind of thinking brings about is because we often see it exemplified by women themselves. If a man is not attracted to them, the immediate go-to is, are you gay? If you criticize a woman, like Nick Fuentes, when he appeared on Piers Morgan's show, he was asked, are you gay?
I am attracted to women.
You're not gay?
No.
And obviously Nick got questioned on the fact that he criticizes a woman. And this is the thing, is that if you are not always worshipping at the altar that is allegedly woman, you need to be perceived as a homosexual man, because there's no masculine dignity in demeaning a woman. You need to worship. Within that worship, you can be made a man. And I will address Pearson's claims as well that he made earlier on in the video. He spoke about the fact that when homosexuality was criminalized, there was an actual danger posed towards individuals coming out and identifying as homosexual. Once again, I reiterate, and this is an umbrella term for the purpose of this video, that they would either be arrested, murdered, etc. The issue is, even with that danger present, it would not explain the rampant rate of identification as homosexual that we saw in the 2010s and the 2020s. There needs to be a reason as to why so many people found the need to say, yes, I am gay. For one reason or another, we can conclusively say that beyond shadow of a doubt, they did so due to the social incentive for it. This is where Piers is wrong on his stance in the entire argument. There were indeed people pretending to be gay. There were people pretending to be gay for the social benefits that came with it. So the rate at which we saw people identifying as homosexuals was indeed a problem, and this was due to the propaganda, forcing people to identify as something they were not, simply so they could reap social benefits. And when people see there's a particular benefit to donning a mask, parading around as something they're not, they're going to do this at every opportunity. That's the reason why transgenderism became such a prominent issue, because people saw all of the benefits that women got. And they were like, we want to identify as that as well. It's the reason why a lot of people took on these identities that they did, simply so they could reap the social benefits that came with them. Remove the social benefits, you remove people wanting to identify as these things because there's nothing they can gain from it. People, or rather humans at their very nature, are opportunistic creatures. And as many opportunities as they can be afforded, they will seize all of them, and you cannot be surprised at the outcome of it. Thank you for stopping by, and remember, I'm always a spell away.
I'm not saying I have a problem with it. I don't care.
We should care.
Okay, I really care.